Matthew 12:22 to 32. In this passage, the narrative unfolds with the presentation of a remarkable sign. A man is brought to Jesus who is described as demon-possessed, blind, and mute. The condition reflects a profound bondage, spiritual oppression manifesting in physical incapacity. The text records that Jesus healed him so that the man both spoke and saw. Immediately, the crowd is astonished and begins to ask a significant question. Can this be the Son of David? This question reveals that the miracle is interpreted within the expectations of Israel. The title Son of David carries the weight of covenant promise, recalling the royal line through which the kingdom would come. The amazement of the people contrasts sharply with the reaction of the Pharisees. Rather than acknowledging the sign as evidence of divine authority, they attribute the power behind the miracle to Beelzebul, the ruler of demons. Their explanation attempts to discredit the work by assigning its source to the very power that enslaves humanity. In doing so, they offer an accusation not merely against the miracle, but against the authority of the one performing it. Jesus answers their charge with reasoning that exposes its inconsistency. He begins with a principle. A kingdom divided against itself cannot stand. If Satan were Satan, then his own dominion would collapse. The argument reveals the illogical nature of their claim. The activity they are witnessing is not the preservation of Satan's power, but the dismantling of it. He continues by asking another question. If he casts out demons by Beelzebul, by whom do the Pharisees' own sons cast them out? This rhetorical question places their accusation in a broader context. Exorcism was not unknown within Jewish practice, and their explanation would undermine their own traditions as well. Thus, their reasoning collapses under its own weight. Jesus then declares the true source of the work. If I cast out demons by the Spirit of God, then the kingdom of God has come upon you. The miracle, therefore, serves as a visible sign that divine rule is actively breaking into the present reality of Israel. The casting out of demons demonstrates that the authority of God is confronting and overcoming the forces that have held people in bondage. The kingdom is not merely anticipated, it is arriving through the ministry of the Messiah. To illustrate this, Jesus presents the image of the strong man. A house cannot be plundered unless the strong man is first bound. Only after the binding can the house be entered and its goods carried away. In this picture, the strong man represents the power that has held humanity captive. The acts of deliverance reveal that a stronger authority has entered the scene. The one performing these works is binding the strong man and liberating those who were previously under his control. Jesus then states a dividing line. Whoever is not with me is against me, and whoever does not gather with me scatters. The statement clarifies the moment of decision that stands before the religious leaders and the nation. The works being performed are not neutral events. They reveal the arrival of God's reign. To oppose the one through whom these works occur is to resist the very activity of God. It is within this context that Jesus speaks of forgiveness and the seriousness of their accusation. He declares that every sin and blasphemy will be forgiven people, but blasphemy against the Spirit will not be forgiven. Words spoken against the Son of Man may be forgiven, but speaking against the Spirit will not be forgiven, either in this age or in the age to come. The warning is directed toward the specific charge that the Pharisees have just made. They are witnessing a work accomplished through the Spirit of God and deliberately attributing it to the power of evil. Their words are not spoken in ignorance of what they have seen. They arise from a hardened resistance to the testimony before them. The miracle that demonstrates divine liberation is reinterpreted as demonic activity. By declaring such a verdict, they place themselves in opposition to the very source through which forgiveness is revealed. The Spirit is the agent through whom the kingdom is manifested, the one empowering the works that testify to the Messiah. To label that work as evil is to reject the testimony that reveals God's redemptive action. The contrast within the passage is therefore stark. On one side stands the man who is delivered, once blind and mute, now seeing and speaking. His liberation serves as a sign of the breaking of oppressive powers and the arrival of God's rule. On the other side stand the religious leaders, who respond to the same evidence with accusation and hostility. The scene highlights two responses to the revelation unfolding before Israel. Some recognize the signs and begin to ask whether this is the promised son of David. Others resist the implication of those signs and attempt to explain them away by attributing them to darkness. Yet the works themselves testify that a greater authority is present. The casting out of demons reveals that the power of bondage is being overcome. The binding of the strong man signals that the dominion which held people captive is being confronted and subdued. The kingdom of God is not appearing through political upheaval or military conquest, but through acts of restoration and deliverance. Thus, Matthew records this moment as part of the unfolding revelation of the Messiah's authority. The miracles, the accusations, and the response together reveal the clash between the arrival of God's reign and the resistance of those who refuse to recognize it. The healing of the blind and mute man stands as a visible declaration that the stronger one has come and that the kingdom of God has drawn near.